Have you ever stared at the calendar, stunned that another year has vanished before you even noticed? Close your eyes and travel back to a childhood summer, sunlight stretching into twilight. Endless afternoons spent chasing fireflies and the delicious impatience of waiting for your birthday cake to arrive. Each sunrise felt like a gift unfolding, every moment etched in vivid color and anticipation. Days melted into one another as you soaked up every ounce of freedom, believing time itself would pause for your delight. Now open your eyes to adulthood. January resolutions slip into forgotten promises by February, and before you know it, Halloween costumes are collecting dust in the attic. You blink, and the leaves have fallen, only to rise again in a snapshot of winter holiday photos. Where did the months go? Why does time feel like it's sprinting past us, faster with each passing year? The startling truth is that time itself hasn't accelerated, your perception of it has warped. Clocks continue their steady tick, calendars flip page by page at the same pace they always have. What's changed is the way your mind measures those ticks and pages. As children, we treated every experience as a landmark. Each first stretched time into a landscape of memories. As adults, we slip into routines, wake, work, scroll, sleep, and our brains stop encoding fresh markers. Without those vivid anchors, days collapse into a blur. Picture yourself scrolling through vacation photos from 5 years ago. You hesitate, surprised, was that really half a decade back? Your brain reconstructs the passage of years with mental snapshots. Fewer snapshots mean a shorter perceived span. In childhood, every scraped knee, every new flavor of ice cream, every unplanned adventure forced your hippocampus into overdrive, weaving detailed tapestries of memory. Now, the familiar commute, the familiar coffee order, the familiar evening binge create no new threads, only a single, featureless fabric of time. This inversion of perception feels eerie because it strikes at our deepest longing, to feel fully alive. We believe that aging drags us toward oblivion, but in reality, we're letting time slip through our fingers. We've surrendered our lived experience to the tyranny of schedules and deadlines, trading the richness of duration for the cold arithmetic of clock hands. In the next section, we'll dive into Henri Bergson's radical insight, his concept of l'auderie, or lived time, and explore how this revolutionary perspective can help you reclaim the fullness of each moment. But for now, pause and look around. When did time feel most alive for you? Was it under the summer sun of childhood, or in a rare moment of genuine surprise? Hold that feeling close, because it's the key to unlocking a deeper, more expansive sense of time, one that's defined not by numbers but by the depth of your own experience. Imagine standing at the edge of a crowded street, your watch clasped tightly in your hand, its hands sweeping forward, an unyielding metronome dictating your every move. That is clock time, cold, uniform, relentless. Now close your eyes and recall the last time you lost yourself in a moment so vivid that hours felt like minutes. That is l'auderie, Henri Bergson's breakthrough revelation. Time experienced through consciousness, not counted by gears and digits. Born in 1859, Bergson watched a world obsessed with precision railway timetables, factory whistles, regimented labor. He dared to challenge this mechanical tyranny. In his seminal work, Matter and Memory, he argued that true time is an indivisible flow, a tapestry woven from memory, emotion, and perception. He called it durie, a living duration that swells with intensity and contracts under monotony. Picture it in action. You step into a sunlit gallery, greeted by a canvas awash in bold strokes of color. As you draw closer, your heart quickens. You notice the paint's texture, the way sunlight refracts off each ridge. Thoughts of errands, emails, and deadlines vanish. Minutes dissolve into an unbroken stream of awe and reflection. That is Bergson's time, elastic, personal, and irreducible. Contrast this with your morning commute. You follow the same path. Left at the corner coffee shop, right past the anonymity of glass towers, straight into the subway car. Your mind drifts plans, to-do lists, the echo of yesterday's argument. You arrive at work startled by how little you remember. Time, in clock terms, has marched on, but your lived experience has flatlined. Lottery slipped through the cracks of routine. Bergson insisted that every memory, every sensation, fuels the richness of duration. In moments of crisis grief after a breakup, the silent terror before a job interview, your awareness expands. Seconds stretch into lifetimes as your mind catalogs every detail, the tremor in your voice, the tightening in your chest, the echo of your own heartbeat. Hallways you once breezed through become labyrinths of anticipation. In these intense pockets, you touch the true expanse of time. Yet when life becomes predictable, wake, work, scroll. Sleep, your brain relegates experience to autopilot. The hippocampus, starved of novelty, stops encoding fresh landmarks, days bleed together, leaving you with a vague sense that years evaporate overnight. Bergson warned that in surrendering to clock time, we sacrifice the very essence of living to reclaim durée. Bergson urged radical mindfulness, embrace unpredictability, cultivate self-awareness, and honor your internal rhythms. Feel the warmth of sunlight on your skin. Listen to the hush between passing trains. Let curiosity guide you down an unfamiliar street, in each choice to immerse yourself fully. You reshape time's fabric, stretching moments into memories that linger long after the days have passed. Bergson's vision is not a quaint nostalgia for a pre-industrial age. It is a call to revolt against our own numbing habits. By prioritizing felt experience over rigid schedules, we revive durée in the heart of modern existence. Time, he taught us, is not a ledger to balance, but a river to navigate with every memory, emotion, and breath as oars propelling us toward a richer, more expansive life as we navigate adulthood. A curious distortion creeps into our perception of time, one remarkably captured by the proportional theory. Imagine you at 10 years old. A single year spans a full decade of your life, equating to 10% of everything you've known. Each birthday pulses with novelty, new shoes, new friends, new schoolyards to explore. Fast forward to 30. That same year represents only 3% of your lived experience. At 50, it shrinks to a mere 2%. Suddenly, 12 months feel fleeting because they occupy a thinner slice of your personal timeline. Take Alex, now 28, who once tracked every summer milestone with breathless excitement this year. On his birthday, he found himself staring at a cake lit by a single candle, yet in his mind, the past year had vanished like mist. The emptiness gnawed at him. Had he accomplished nothing? Had he simply let time slip by? Alex's trembling reflection in the window that night illuminated the paradox. Our minds compress familiar stretches, making them recede into shadows of memory. Neuroscience offers a second piece of the puzzle. Our hippocampus, the brain's memory archivist, thrives on novelty. When we encounter fresh experiences, it springs into action, encoding vibrant markers that anchor us in time. Recall Mary Saul, the adventurous school teacher who once dared to hitchhike along the Pacific Coast Highway on a whim. Every mile she recorded with sharp clarity, the taste of salty wine, the roar of the engine, the horizon unfolding like a promise. Her hippocampus buzzed with new data, stretching that week into a vivid tapestry of recollections. Contrast that with her routine Monday morning commute through urban gridlock as brake lights glowed ahead. Her mind drifted to spreadsheets and overdue emails. The scenery blurred glass towers, gray pavement, familiar coffee stands. The hippocampus, starved of novelty, slid into standby mode. Days became indistinguishable grooves, logged with minimal detail. By month's end, Mary Saul struggled to recall how many times she'd passed the same intersection, and time itself felt contracted, as if her life had accelerated without her consent. Daniel, the camp nurse from our earlier narrative, faced this neural dilemma a different way. He watched patients fade into uniform routines, same meals, same ailments, same whispered prayers. Determined to resist the brain's autopilot, he introduced micro-rituals. A new herbal tea each morning, a brief journal entry under the dawn's soft light, a silent pause to observe the sunrise. These tiny acts jolted his hippocampus awake, scattering fresh mental pebbles along the path of his days. Even in the harshest of environments, Daniel reclaimed moments of presence, tempering time's rush with deliberate novelty. Science underscores the stakes. Studies reveal that adults over 30 report time accelerating year by year, without intentional disruptions to routine. The hippocampus simply stops building rich temporal landmarks. Life flattens into a monochrome scroll, leaving us desperate to understand where the days have gone. To counter this neurological compression, we must become architects of our own experiences. Seek out the unfamiliar, learn a new skill, explore a different neighborhood, or challenge your comfort zone with a spontaneous detour. Each novel encounter ignites your brain's memory factory, weaving more threads into the fabric of your temporal awareness. In embracing the proportional theory and leveraging our neuroscience, we confront a profound truth. Time's pace is not an immutable force, but a reflection of how deeply we engage with each moment. By infusing our lives with fresh impressions, we expand our personal horizons, reclaiming the fullness of every passing year. In 1922, beneath the electric buzz of Parisian salons, two visions of time collided in a legendary showdown: Albert Einstein's clockwork cosmos versus Henri Bergson's living river of experience. For those grappling with the speed of modern life, this intellectual duel still resonates, illuminating the fault line between time measured by machines and time felt by the heart. Einstein, Nobel laureate and architect of relativity, cast time as a dimension as tangible as length or width. In his equations, clocks tucked into satellites or hurtling rockets would tick differently depending on gravity's pull or velocity's push. Time, he insisted, was malleable yet objective, a uniform fabric woven into the very structure of the universe. For physicists and engineers, this framework unlocked revolutionary technologies: GPS satellites adjusting their rates to match Earth's gravity, particle accelerators probing the secrets of matter. Einstein's time was precise, impersonal, and universal. Across the lectern stood Bergson, France's cherished philosopher, armed with intuition rather than formulas. He challenged Einstein's abstraction as a crime against human experience. To Bergson, time was inseparable from consciousness, an indivisible flow he named la durée. It could not be parceled into identical ticks without severing its organic essence, our memories, emotions, and subjective rhythms weave together, stretching and contracting our felt reality in ways no clock can capture. To reduce this richness to numbers, Bergson argued, was to freeze a river into a series of ice cubes, technically accurate but tragically lifeless. Imagine Alex, age 28, poring over his college physics textbook when he encounters the twin paradox. One sibling voyages through space at near light speed and returns younger than the one who stayed home. His logical mind marvels at relativity's mathematical elegance, yet a deeper unease stirs. How can a dimension so fundamental to life feel so detached from his daily heartbeat? Later, he discovers Bergson's writings and feels relief. Here is a theory that honors the swell of joy and the drag of boredom, that treats a sunrise shared with friends as real as any atomic oscillation. Mary Saul, the intrepid school teacher, recalls her own encounter with these opposing ideas during a stolen hour in the camp's smuggled library. She kneels by a dusty lamp, running her fingers over Bergson's pages, picturing Einstein's rigid space-time diagrams etched on chalkboards. She senses a deeper tension to interpretations of existence that mirror her inner conflict, a yearning for precision and order battling against a craving for depth and meaning. When the debate unfolded on stage, tension soared. Einstein's measured calm contrasted sharply with Bergson's fiery admonitions. Each man spoke without uttering a single line of dialogue in our memories, yet their convictions rang louder than any spoken word. Einstein's data-driven confidence threatened to eclipse Bergson's humanistic plea, and Bergson's critique laid bare the soul-crushing consequences of treating life as an endless checklist of hours. In the aftermath, the scientific community largely embraced Einstein's model, and Bergson's reputation waned in academic circles. Yet for seekers wrestling with existential questions, Bergson's victory lived on quietly in psychology labs and mindfulness practices. Neuroscientists would later validate his intuition. Brain regions activated during daydreams and emotional reflection align with subjective time dilation. Modern psychology confirms that awe, novelty, and self-reflection warp our internal clocks just as Bergson foretold. For anyone navigating the rush of 21st century life, the Einstein-Bergson debate remains more than historical trivia. It is a call to balance the world of deadlines and data with the world of feeling and flow. Embrace the precision of schedules when necessary, but never let your story be told solely by the ticking hand of a clock. Because true freedom lies in reclaiming l'audacy, honoring each moment's depth, bending time not through velocity, but through the vividness of lived experience. Imagine two moments, identical in duration but worlds apart in impact. One drags on with stifling boredom, the other vanishes in a rush of exhilaration. In the first, you're trapped in the fluorescent glare of the DMV, anxiety knotting your stomach as you shuffle forward inch by agonizing inch. In the second, you're standing shoulder to shoulder with strangers, the bass thumping through your chest as the spotlight ignites the stage. Both experiences span an hour. Yet one feels eternal while the other disappears in a heartbeat. This is the paradox of waiting versus living fully, a principle that reveals how our perception of time hinges on emotional intensity and engagement. Take Alex, weary from a morning of errands. He enters the DMV lobby clutching a ticket stub, its number blinking on a digital display. As minutes stretch into what feels like centuries, he glances at the clock for the 12th time. His shoulders slump, every fluorescent buzz amplifying the monotony. The patterned carpet, the endless rows of chairs, the hum of tired conversations all blur into a featureless drone. His phone's news alerts pop up unread, his mind too numbed by the grind to care. In this vacuum of engagement, time consolidates into a single, oppressive block. Now picture Mary Saul, who escaped that same routine to join a late-night concert under the stars. As the opening chords strike, the crowd erupts and she's swept into a tide of sound and motion. Every beat sends tremors through her limbs, every lyric vibrates in her core. She loses track of fatigue, deadlines, and the endless scroll of daily obligations, sweat beads on her forehead. Adrenaline floods her veins, and for 45 electrifying minutes, she experiences a vivid tapestry of sensation. When the final encore fades, she's left breathless and enraptured, marveling that time could slip away so swiftly. These contrasting scenes illustrate a fundamental truth. Lived time expands when we immerse ourselves in novel, emotionally charged experiences. Neuroscience confirms that high arousal levels trigger the amygdala and hippocampus to encode richer, denser memory traces. During the DMV ordeal, Alex's brain hit autopilot, relegating the ordeal to routine status and compressing it into a fleeting memory. In contrast, Marisol's carnival of sound and light awakened every sensory pathway, scattering mental landmarks across her consciousness. The result, hours that feel like moments and moments that feel like lifetimes. To break free from the tyranny of hollow hours, we must actively seek experiences that jolt us out of habit. Swap mindless chores for spontaneous detours. Explore a hidden street mural, sample an exotic street food vendor, or strike up a conversation with a stranger whose story challenges your worldview. Invite intensity back into your days by prioritizing engagement over efficiency. Turn off autopilot and reclaim agency when you fully inhabit a moment, whether it's dancing in a crowd or savoring an unfamiliar flavor. Time stretches to accommodate your curiosity and passion. As you navigate your own existential journey, Remember that life's richness is measured not by the ticking hand of a clock, but by the depth of your involvement. Waiting teaches patience, but only living fully reveals time's true elasticity. The next time you find yourself counting down minutes, ask, am I simply passing through, or am I truly present? Embrace the tension between anticipation and immersion, and you'll discover that even the most ordinary hour can transform into an unforgettable chapter of your story. Now, let's unveil the three hidden forces that either steal our moments or stretch them into vivid lifetimes: the novelty effect, the routine trap, and memory compression. 1. The novelty effect. Your brain is wired to cherish first experiences. Recall Alex's first time scaling a cliffside at dawn, the horizon bleeding pink as he reached the summit. Every gust of wind, every heartbeat felt amplified, his senses ignited by unfamiliar terrain. In those moments, the hippocampus, the brain's memory forge, blazes with activity, stamping each detail into lasting neural circuits. That sunrise didn't just last 10 minutes. It unfolded like a symphony, etching itself in 2 years of recollection. Novelty stretches subjective time because your mind records every nuance: the taste of cold air, the tremor in your legs, the triumph surging through your veins. 2. The routine trap. Contrast that with Marisol's weekday grind. She steps onto the same subway car, passes the same weary commuters, and orders her latte from a barista who already knows her coffee preferences. Her mind drifts to spreadsheets and text chains as fluorescent lights hum overhead. In this loop, the hippocampus disengages, relegating experience to autopilot. Days merge into a featureless current, each one indistinguishable from the last. The brain, starved of novelty, conserves energy by compressing these repetitive slices into a single mental snapshot. What feels like a hurried sprint through the week is actually your mind's way of masking monotony. 3. The memory compression. Finally, our brains are brutal editors, trimming life's story to its most sensational highlights. Daniel, the camp nurse from our earlier tale, kept meticulous logs of patient breakthroughs and rare emergencies to fight this instinct. Yet most of us allow everyday routines, groceries, commutes, familiar dinner recipes to vanish without a trace. When we later glance at our year-end reflections, what remains are the fireworks and the breakdowns, the moments that jolted us awake. Everything else collapses into the footnotes of our memories, shrinking the perceived length of our lives. These three forces conspire to warp our experience of time. Novelty stretches it into a textured canvas, routine devours the edges, and memory compression reduces it to its flashiest moments. Understanding their power is the first step toward reclaiming your lived time. In the next section, we'll explore practical strategies, mindful presence, deliberate novelty, and rhythmic breaks to thwart these thieves and paint your days with depth rather than letting them slip away unnoticed. Now that we've exposed the forces compressing your lived time: novelty starvation, routine autopilot, memory collapse, it's time to reclaim each day with deliberate strategies. These personal solutions transform ordinary hours into dense tapestries of experience, slowing time down by filling it with meaningful moments and emotional resonance. First, cultivate radical presence through mindfulness. Daniel, the camp nurse who once battled ideological dogma, found salvation by anchoring himself in small rituals: a 5-minute dawn journal entry, a silent vigil at sunrise, a focused breath before each patient visit. These micro-practices shattered the monotony of medical rounds, compelling his mind to record fresh sensory details: the dew's chill on his skin, the soft murmur of morning prayer, the warmth of a stethoscope against a fevered forehead. To mirror Daniel's breakthrough, integrate brief presence breaks into your routine. Pause between tasks, close your eyes, and catalog 5 sensations: sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. This grounding exercise jolts your hippocampus awake, planting vivid memory anchors that stretch subjective time. Next, engineer deliberate novelty. Alex, once trapped in office drudgery, Now dedicate Saturday mornings to micro-adventures, learning a foreign phrase, sampling an unexpected cuisine, or navigating a random subway line. Each act of exploration floods his brain with new stimuli, flavors, languages, textures that ignite memory formation and expand his temporal perception. You can start small. Take a different route to work, enroll in a weekend pottery class, or challenge yourself to cook an unfamiliar recipe. The goal isn't grandiosity but contrast. Intersperse the mundane with sparks of the unknown, so your mind logs these deviations as landmark events rather than letting them dissolve into the background. Schedule rhythmic breaks to disrupt autopilot. Mary Sull, the intrepid school teacher in our earlier tale, reclaimed hours by blocking blank spaces on her calendar, time reserved for unstructured thought. During these interludes, she wandered city parks, observed passers-by, or scribbled stream of consciousness reflections. This deliberate idleness invited creativity and slowed her sense of passing hours. To emulate Mary Sull, designate at least 30 minutes a day for productive boredom, silence notifications, avoid agendas, and let your mind drift. The resulting daydreams act as cognitive reset buttons, breaking the cycle of routine and coaxing new neural pathways into play. Complement these tactics with intentional memory curation. Keep a concise experience log where you capture 3 highlights from your day, no more, no less. Daniel's meticulous symptom charts evolved into brief gratitude notes, a patient's thankful smile, the aroma of freshly brewed tea, the sight of sunlight through clinic bars. Reviewing these entries weekly reinforces their emotional weight and preserves mental bookmarks that time cannot erode. Finally, forge a community of mindful challengers. Ordinary friends may applaud efficiency, but you need allies who question the status quo. Host monthly novelty nights where each person shares a recent first, be it a poem they wrote, a hike they conquered, or a dish they discovered. These gatherings become fertile grounds for inspiration, accountability, and the exchange of fresh perspectives, magnifying each attendee's sense of lived time. Implementing these strategies will not feel easy. Expect tension as you step off routine's conveyor belt. Expect discomfort when you admit how briefly you've lived recent weeks. Yet in that friction lies transformation. By weaving mindfulness, novelty, rhythmic breaks, memory curation, and a supportive community into your life, you rebel against the tyranny of clock time. You forge a richer subjective timeline, one where every moment, whether grand or mundane, contributes to a fuller, more expansive sense of existence. As our journey through time's hidden dimensions nears its end, the ultimate challenge emerges. Will you remain a passive passenger or seize the oars and steer your own lived experience? The concepts we've explored: Laudurey's vibrant flow, the brain's craving for novelty, the insidious compression of routine are not mere abstractions. They're tools you can wield to reclaim every moment, transforming a life measured in seconds into a rich tapestry of memory and meaning. Remember Alex, who traded his gray office cubicle for spontaneous Saturday expeditions. Recall how each unfamiliar turn on that road trip sharpened his senses and stretched his perception of days into weeks of vivid recollection. Or think of Mary Sull, whose small presence breaks in the park rekindled her wonder at sunlight filtering through leaves, turning routine strolls into profound encounters. Picture Daniel, whose simple dawn ritual, pausing to feel the cold air on his skin before entering the clinic, reignited his passion and anchored his identity in purpose rather than obligation. Now it's your turn. Start by scheduling micro-adventures. Take a different route home, experiment with an untried hobby, or greet a stranger whose story unsettles your worldview. Let each new experience flood your hippocampus with fresh markers that will anchor your memory and stretch your sense of duration simultaneously. Carve out daily presence breaks, moments when you close your eyes, breathe fully, and catalog the textures of your surroundings. These short pauses will shatter routine's autopilot and force your mind to register each heartbeat, each tremor of thought. To solidify these gains, keep a concise experience log. Capture 3 moments each day that stirred your emotions: an unexpected laugh, a stirring melody, a gesture of kindness. Reviewing these snapshots weekly will reinforce their significance and crystallize your mental bookmarks, making time feel fuller in retrospect. Finally, assemble a circle of fellow time rebels. Host monthly novelty nights where each person shares a fresh discovery, whether a conversation, a creative spark, or a daring risk. These gatherings will amplify your commitment and remind you that lived time thrives in community as much as in solitude. This is not a call for grand upheaval, but for relentless small acts, tiny ruptures in the fabric of habit that alert your mind to each unfolding instant. Yes, it demands courage to break from efficiency's seductive grip. You will feel the sting of self-awareness as you confront how quickly life has slipped through your grasp. But it is precisely in that tension, in the friction between comfort and growth, that transformation ignites. So today, make one decision. Will you count another year in the ledger of tasks completed? Or will you fill it with moments so vivid they defy the tyranny of clocks? Will you look back and wonder where the time went? Or will you look forward, knowing you lived each second fully? The choice is yours. Embrace novelty, practice presence, cultivate community, and watch as your days expand from fleeting blurs into a vibrant mosaic of meaning. The rebellion against lost time begins now. In this video, we've mapped the hidden terrain of time from the endless summers of childhood to Henri Bergson's revolutionary concept of la durée, and from the proportional theory and neuroscience's insights into memory to the epic Einstein-Bergson debate. We've witnessed how waiting in a sterile line at the DMV contrasts with the electric rush of a concert, exposed the three forces that steal our moments: novelty starvation, routine autopilot, and memory compression, and equipped you with 5 actionable strategies: mindful presence, deliberate novelty, rhythmic breaks, memory curation, and a community of fellow time rebels to stretch each day into a rich tapestry of lived experience. If these ideas resonate with your quest for deeper meaning, make sure to hit subscribe and ring the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Share this video with friends who crave a fuller life, and leave a comment telling us which strategy you'll try first. Together, let's transform every second into a lasting memory.